Gunman took a person's life at a crowded mall just before Christmas, but the tragedy continues to take a toll on others. TV 20's Emma Delamo spoke to a victim who tells us why she attended a sport group organized by police tonight.
This is the man Ocala police officers say caused the chaos at Paddock Mall on December 23rd. Mental health counselors are here providing free resources for those affected by the tragedy. Jeanette Murphy says she's infuriated someone would open fire inside the mall days before Christmas, especially with children around.
We're very angry that someone, from his laziness to his cowardness, did this to a community.
She's one of many living through the aftermath of the fatal shooting last month. The Ocala Police Department partnered with several organizations to provide grief counseling and other resources to support those affected, assuring them how they feel now is acceptable. TV 20 stayed outside so victims could cope privately.
You know, to kind of sit in it for a while and to eventually find somewhat of a new normal, because it does change your perspective on things, like when you're out in the community and where are you really safe.
Dr. Christine Caulfield says if you've noticed a change in behavior or urges, that might be your sign to seek help.
It's very important to be able to express your feelings, to talk about where you were, what you were doing, what you were feeling, and how are you feeling now.
Police are searching for Albert Schell Jr., who was accused of shooting and killing 40-year-old David Barron and injuring another woman in the leg. A $15,000 reward is offered to anyone who leads officers to Schell's arrest. Emma Delamo, TV 20 News.